All righty. We're going to begin because I got a busy evening. Barbara's here? Oh, good to see you. Right, good to see you. All right, well, good evening, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed what little bit of summer, at least I had, what you had. But I want to thank all of our community board chairs, staff, and city agencies who are with us tonight. Before we get into our formal agenda, I want to recognize the recently elected chair of Queens Community Board 5, Walter Sanchez. Walter has served CB5 for over 3 decades and was recently elected as chair in June, so I just wanted to make sure we officially said congratulations. Of course, my staffers Claire and Michael say that you've hit the ground running as well. So we appreciate the enthusiasm you bring in your new role and congratulate you on your election. Of course, we want to give a big shout out to Vinny Arcori for his 49 years serving the board. 49 years. 49 years. We got to give him like a proc or something for that. He will be missed at our board meetings, but we are glad we'll still get to work with him at CB5. With that said, I want to give the floor to Walter for a few words to introduce himself to the Borough Board. I mean, not that you need an introduction, but hold on for the mic, because we're streaming.
I'm just so excited to be here. As you know, I've been here a number of times before as the first vice chair for about a decade now, and you know, Vinny was an unbelievable mentor to me, took me under his wing, and Community Board 5 hopes to be one of the best boards. But just a challenge to all of you, our goal is to have more applicants for Community Board 5 than any of you other community boards. So we're going to try and encourage people to be civically engaged, and Barbara's going to help.
Well, we thank you for your enthusiasm, but we ain't mean for you to take shots so early on.
You could take it.
Come on, behave the first meeting, Walter. But congratulations. Of course, we'll take you up on that offer. We need more applications in CB5. Next up, I would like to introduce the New York City Civic Engagement Commission, who will be presenting on the People's Money. This is a yearly citywide participatory budgeting program utilizing mayoral expense funding. CEC will provide an overview on the 4 phases of participatory budgeting, including idea generation, borough assemblies, citywide voting, and project implementation. Following the presentation, we will go to Q&A. Representing CEC, we have Citywide Director of Outreach and Volunteer Engagement, Barbara Williams. With that, I will yield the floor, and I want to thank you for all the work, the wonderful work that I've seen the CEC doing to get around the borough, and we have a running theme in Queens. Queens get the money. So all the board chairs, we really want to take advantage of this opportunity when it comes to strengthening democracy, of course, but ensuring that we can fund organizations doing great work in our borough. With that being said, thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Michael to run the rest of the meeting. Begin, Barbara.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to meet you. I've been waiting for a very long time to meet you. So my name is Barbara Williams, and as he said, I'm the Director of Outreach and Volunteer Programs with the CEC. I may be from Brooklyn, but guess what? I used to live in Queens.
What's stopping you from coming back?
Family, you know, that old family thing. So I used to live in Lefrak City. So I do have an investment in when it comes to the work that we do and making sure that Lefrak City is, as well as the rest of Queens, is heard. So I do put my heart into it. So thank you so much. Who remember voting in 2018? Okay. Who remembers flipping over the ballot? Okay. Thank you so much for my job. Okay. So in 2018, you flipped the ballot and you said that you wanted to create a commission where you would teach people to be civically engaged, and you would teach people to have voices where it comes to being involved with what the city does with its money, being involved with what the city has to say. And so here I am because of you. So thank you very much. I am proud of my job and the work that we do and the areas that we focus on. We focus on voters' language assistance program. We focus on the people's money. We focus on community boards, as we have here. And our newest program is Community Partnership in Education, which falls under the TREE, which is Task Force Racial Inclusion and Equity Initiative. How many people heard of TREE? Okay. Interesting. So we're going to have fun. So we currently have 25 people on staff at the CEC, and it includes consultants and interns. You're not Mr. Donovan Richards, but I'm going to ask you to read this slide out loud.
All right. Civic engagement is people power. Civic engagement consists of all the ways that people use their power to seek justice for their community. Why? Because of their love for the community.
Okay. So I think that we're all in this room because we all have love for our community, right? Yep. Yeah. And civic engagement is people power. And because we all have power, because of the community connections that we have civic engagement. I am a little biased when it comes to the programs here at the CEC, and I have to say that the VLA program is one of my favorite programs. The VLA program is where we teach limited English proficient New Yorkers that they have a right to vote in their own language. I remember hearing stories of people's grandmothers and grandfathers wanting to go to the polls and being afraid to go, but they felt they couldn't because they couldn't take their grandsons or granddaughters, and so they didn't go. We changed that. We made it possible for people to learn that you can take your grandson, your granddaughter, you can take your sister, your uncle, you can take someone to make it easier for you to have your voices heard, okay? So what we do is we provide access to interpreters at selected poll sites in these languages you see here, and we do let them know that you can vote in your language. And these are the 11 languages that we supply, and we kind of complement what the Board of Election does. And this is to give you a screenshot of the different VLA sites that we have throughout Queens. Isn't that awesome? The different languages. If I'm going too quick, just let me know. Okay? So we also back it up with funding. And so this is where you come in hand. And so what we're offering this time around, we're offering an RFI. We're looking for partners. And so we're looking for people to host education sessions on voting rights to LEP New Yorkers, and they'll get $1,500 per sessions. And we're looking for 16 partners. The deadline to file is September 18th. And they're going to give courses to New Yorkers about their voting rights.
Yeah, Barbara, can we have you speak a little closer into the mic?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a soft voice. Did everybody get that, or do you need me to repeat? Repeat that, please. Okay. So we have an RFI for partners to host education sessions on voting rights to LEP New Yorkers. They'll receive $1,500 per session. 16 partners will be chosen. The deadline is September 18th. Okay? The organizations can apply for up to 2 languages. Okay? So if you have an organization that wants to apply for Haitian, which is in Queens, they can apply to do 2 sessions in Haitian. Okay? I've had the opportunity to attend an Urdu session, and it's great to see how they taught the people in the Urdu community about their rights to vote in their language. Any questions so far? We'll do it at the end, right? Questions at the
Yeah,
end?
we'll take questions at the end.
Okay.
Yep.
Next is our biggest program, the People's Money. The People's Money runs on an annual cycle. Okay, so what you have 4 areas that we cover during the cycles. So we have the first cycle is the idea generation phase. This is when New Yorkers like you and I come together and we have ideas on how to spend a portion of the city budget. Now, the people who can do this are people who are 11 and older, citizens, non-citizens, and even those who are justice impacted. And this is the part I really like. We've gone into Rikers Island, and we've had them give ideas for programs in their own communities. We've gone into Rikers and we've helped them to prepare for life back in their own communities or communities they've stolen from. And this helps prepare them for their future lives back in society. Borough assemblies, which is the second one, is where we get people to look at all these thousands of ideas, because we have to look at the thousands of ideas, right? And then we have to figure out which ones are good ideas and which can go on the ballot, because some don't fall into the whole realm of which, some may be, okay, it's not a program, it's something more like a building, okay? So we have to take those ideas and make it good for the ballot. So that's number 2. Phase number 3, which we just finished, is where all New Yorkers get to vote on the ideas. And it's the same group of people who are able to vote on these ideas. 11 and up, citizens and non-citizens, and those who are just as impacted. They get to vote on the ideas as well. Okay? And now we're in the phase of project implementation. Project implementation is where we get people who are with organizations to implement the ideas of the winning projects. These are just some of the ideas that won in 2024. Do you see any that you liked there? Bridging the skills gap is something I would be interested in. Working with seniors, because I'm big on working with seniors. And if you're always interested in finding out about more projects that we have implemented, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Instagram, and you can look up our projects. What's in your borough? Like it says here in the videos. These are pictures of us going out to get people to vote on the ideas in Queens. This is a stomp in the streets in Queens. I wanted to go over some of the voters, the voting data that was collected. As you can see, in Queens, we had 37,147 votes. Okay.
Yep. Most in the city, I see.
Yeah, that's why I highlighted it. That's right. So look at the breakdown, though. 31,906 were in paper. 5,241 is in digital. What does that tell you?
Don't have access to digital sometimes or the skill to do it.
Right.
Room for growth.
Right. I've gone to a lot of events because we have the tablets there, we have the technology there, and people just don't want to use the technology. So I wanted to bring that information to you guys. I don't know if it's useful for you to know that people are either scared of technology, they don't want to use the technology, they don't know how to use the technology, but there's a big divide. But I wanted you to see for yourselves what the numbers were when it comes to the technology versus the paper.
It's all the above, all the reasons you just.
Yeah. Okay. So 2025, these are the winning projects here. So this is what everybody picked for this year. Very exciting, right? And a number of votes that came in for them. So right now we're underway for accepting the applications for people to implement these ideas. And right now we'll be about to interview people to implement. So the organizations that want to actually implement the ideas, they'll be hired within the next few weeks. Now, you're wondering who filled out the application, who filled out the voting, right? The surveys. A large percentage of them preferred not to say. But you see, Black, African American surprisingly filled out a large portion of it. And then come to Asian, and then so forth and so on. It doesn't surprise me that over 50% respondents identify as women. And then you see the ages here. But soon, guess what? We get to start year 4, which we're really, 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 really excited about. It begins October 15th, and we'll start with the idea generation sessions, which will be going all over the city. And it goes from October 15th to the 19th, including one here at Queensborough Hall. We don't know the exact date yet, but we'll let you know as soon as the information becomes available. Okay, so we have a new program. And it's called the TREE. We call it TNI, Task Force Neighborhood Initiative. Back when COVID hit, the city created something called the the TREE Initiative, and it focused just on 33 neighborhoods that were hardest hit and living in the poverty line. You know about that? Yeah, you remember that, right? Yeah. And so we carried the ball and we continue to work in all these 33 neighborhoods. And so now we have a program that just focuses on those neighborhoods. And that's what we call the TNI, the Tree Neighborhood Initiative. And what we do is we work with community-based organizations, and we help these organizations through funding that we give them to build capacity, foster collaboration, strengthen local infrastructure, and promote social cohesion in these tree communities. It's a way to help build up these organizations, to give them strength, to help them to have partners where they never had partners before. How many of you recognize any of these as tree neighborhoods and would think they were tree neighborhoods?
All of them.
All of them, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, this is what we all came here for. Community boards. Why am I here? It's important for the CEC for us to have a program that focuses on community boards. And that means building relationships with the borough president's offices, especially ones such as yours. So we have started working on conversations about what they're looking for in workshops that will help them, meaning Queens specifically, Brooklyn specifically, no longer looking at borough president's offices as a whole, but as individuals. We need to start looking at each borough president's office as an individual and what the needs are. So that means offering more customized workshops. That means we're focusing on the needs of each individual borough. That means working with future community board working group, and I didn't know what this acronym was until I was taught recently, which is cool. I get to learn new things in my job. FCBWG, towards term limit preparedness. I heard the phrase many years ago when I was working, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So what the CEC is trying to do is, by offering trainings, help you stay ready so you won't have to get ready. Mm-hmm. And also working with DCAS to roll out the New York City Learns to all board members accessibility to much-needed trainings. That's what we're about. I want to say thank you for your time. You didn't have to offer it to me. Time is a gift that you don't get back, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Barbara. And with that, I'll open up to the chairs for questions. I see Dolores, followed by Sherry, Evie, and Heather.
Hi. Barbara, I'm Dolores Orr, and I'm Chair of Community Board 14 out in the Rockaways and Broad Channel. And I want to say that I've attended many of the classes that you have sponsored on Zoom, and I encourage all my board members to also to do that. So we'll continue to do that for sure. So in terms of training, can you help us get the funding, or the agency, an agency to get the funding to give us the training we need on equal employment opportunities, so we don't get slapped by the controller because we don't do it every year because we don't have access and we don't have funding?
Okay. So,
I'm writing my third explanation as to why I can't do it.
okay. So you want funding for EEO training?
So, yes, we have no funding, we have no access to the database, and we don't have any funding. We have no control over it, and every person in this room has gotten notification we're in violation of the law. So I was not for a number of years because I worked for the Department of Education, and so when I took the classes there and I sent my certificates, I was okay, and now I'm not.
Okay. So the person who would normally have that answer is Benjamin, and he wasn't available today, but I will get back to you with that answer. Okay.
And will any of this ever provide funding for the interpreters at the polling sites?
Funding
So-
for the interpreters?
So you were saying that you have classes where you help people understand what their rights are.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only, I think it's 5 languages that there are interpreters physically at the polling sites.
Mhm.
And we try and explain to them why your language is not, and it's because you don't take the census, and then they don't know that there's that many people. So will you ever be able to put on here to fund interpreters at polling sites?
We do pay to fund the interpreters. They get paid. We hire
That you
interpreters.
hire.
Yeah.
So how does a community, we have a tremendous Russian population in a particular area in the Rockaways, and it's very stressful for them and for us to that Russian is not one of the languages that is supported.
Okay.
So how do we apply for that?
I will get your contact, and I will connect you with the Director of Language Access and see if it's available in that area. Okay.
One last question, and then I'll hand it off. 11 years old is great from that age up, but how do we get to all those kids? Do you ever get the permission to go into any of the schools, the middle schools and the high schools?
Last year, we did a program where we went into schools and we had them get involved in it. And it's a slow process because we're a small team. And so, yeah, so we're still looking for ways to get into the schools. We do Girl Scouts, we do street fairs, we do all kinds of ways, yeah. But we're still examining ways to get to the children. But we go into the schools that we can. We did about 100 schools last year.
Okay. I'm just wondering if the parent coordinators in the schools could be running the voting.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried the top-down approach. We tried the bottom-down approach, bottom-up approach.
Well, the school nurse, everyone goes to the nurse, they can do.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I worked.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? While they're waiting to see the nurse, they could fill out an
It's
ballot.
challenging. it's yeah, no, it's challenging to get into the schools. When I worked for NYU, I did a hip hop stroke program, and I had to go physically to every school I wanted to get
Yes,
into.
yeah,
And-
it's
and-
difficult.
yeah.
I worked in the schools, so I know.
Yeah.
Okay, who's next? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, if you have a card,
Yeah, Barbara, we'll share the chair contacts post-meeting as well, so.
okay.
Yep,
Yeah, I just want to make sure I can't, you know.
of course.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for the presentation, Barbara. So I am Sherry Algredo, the Chair of Community Board 9. So I see you have all of the areas, Woodhaven, Kew Garden, Ozone Park, and Richmond Hill falls into exactly our community board. So when this started, everyone was calling me as the chair. So I went to many of the meetings, and I could tell you, I noticed there's no Spanish translation, and we have a big Latino community. So I would think Spanish would be something, hope it would be considered.
So Spanish is covered by the Board of Election?
Okay, so it's,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't see it on the list.
Yeah.
That, and so I sat at many of them, and I was like at most of the groups as they had it. I tried to get out to each one and be involved. They asked me to be a participant in, helping choose projects to go forward. One of the things I found is they were giving you the paper to fill out, so maybe that's one of the reasons why people did paper. And so another thing I notice is that with these groups, when you get in and they ask you to have a say in the community projects, like the groups themselves that's doing it and put in what project they want, they tend to have their own vision of what they would like. So when someone from the outside comes and they suggest something to go on the ballot, it's usually, it's not very well received because they already have their group of people with what ideas they would like to have. And sometimes things like that, make you, you don't want to come or be involved. So I would like to see like a greater outreach, and there's like an outreach, but it's on a small, and like people like us, like we know civic engagement, so you reach out to us, we know what to do, we come and we're fully involved. But I have to tell you, most of our communities don't know much about civic engagement.
Yeah.
So what are you guys gonna do, especially in the school? Like we have two high school, Richmond Hill High and High School for Construction. They were very involved in the process. I hope many of your votes came from them because we made sure the students vote. But what are you guys doing in general? Because many of the kids and many adults don't know much about this. Like I heard CEC for the first time, and I was a member of CEC, the Community Education Council, and I thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
So like, what are you guys doing to, raise more awareness?
Yeah, well, we do Civic 101 classes. So if you want us to come out in the community to do, well, my team, I work with outreach. So we come out and do the classes so we can teach what you're wanting to learn. But the first thing, we have to teach people what civic engagement is. Because a lot of people, when they hear the phrase, they don't even know what it is. They look at you like, what? So that's the first thing. And what we're doing is we're trying to build a team of volunteers that can help us go out and teach others what civic engagement actually is. And when people are educated, they can spread the education, right? And we can get more people involved. So that's how it starts, by education. So when you're ready for that training, that Civic 101 training, let me know. I'll get them to come out to wherever you need them to come.
Hi, I'm Evie Hanzopoulos, Chair of Community Board 1. Thank you so much for the presentation. Dolores already brought up the issue regarding the training that we were supposed to take, so I'm glad that that's being worked on. I just had a question about the working group for the future of community boards. Who's involved in that? It's kind of the first I'm hearing about it. And yeah, could you just maybe speak about that a little bit more? Like who's part of that working group?
That I'm not familiar with, but I can find out more information for you. Okay.
Does anybody know? Did any other board chairs hear about that, or the future of community boards working group? towards term limit preparedness?
Yeah. Yeah, I can weigh in slightly on this. In terms of the makeup of the working group, that's very much TBD, but what I can say is that as we get closer to 2027, that is a conversation we're having with other members of the CEC team. So in that regard, just getting clear language on the proper interpretation of the law. I know, since that law has been passed, there's been a lot of accurate information, but misinformation at the same time. People have a little bit of misconstrusions about, when I was appointed, when am I out, getting conflicting reports. So we're working actively with CAC to come up with basically just a general guidance on our understanding of the law and something that's easily shareable, whether that be in person through a one-pager, social media posts, stuff of that sort. Just a way to get ahead of 2027 as we come into that deadline there. So yeah, very much to be determined situation in regards to this, but that is something that as we get closer to 2026 especially, we're setting the groundwork now, but something that we'll be following up with each of your offices as well, because we know since this law has come in, we've gotten inquiries like, okay, when am I due? When is X, Y of my executive committee due? So rather than handle that ad hoc piecemeal, we're looking to get some materials out there towards the chairs and the board, something that you can easily share to your members as well. So,
Thank you. So is it going to be more about just how to prepare board, other than knowing when you're done, right? Because people are going to start cycling off like soon,
yeah.
right? Like 27, we'll have the first kind of group of people who maybe have been on the boards for, decades, right? Cycling off. But like in terms of like preparedness, what new systems or structures or information sharing beyond just like is like that also part of this working group?
Yeah, in terms of information sharing, what my conversations with the CEC has been is, okay, how can we make sure there's not too much of a brain drain? I mean, of course, with term limits, you're going to see some of that, but how can we have the existing members lay off what information they've had throughout their years into the folks who are just coming in? So that'll be like individual by CB, like special workshops in which like we want to hear from folks who've been around for quite a bit to sort of lead the way in terms like this is how you engage and with this agency, with this elected office, state versus federal, stuff like that. So a sort of like 101 how to engage with different members of the community. So that's something that we're actively working on right now. But yeah, just apologies for a little bit of my vagueness. Just very
No,
much
that's
cooking
okay.
right now.
That's okay.
So,
I'm glad we're
yeah.
thinking about it.
Yes, that's a conversation I'm actively having with CEC in terms of just more trainings and workshops as we get into the later part of this year, but especially 2026.
Yeah, and I would just also add that there's another level of maybe meetings or trainings about like board leadership turnover, right? Because, I mean, yes, new members will have they have 8 years, right? But also, some board chairs who have, been around for a long time are going to be, term limited. And then, so there's that piece as well to just also be part of the conversation and the training and the preparedness as well. So like, what do board chairs kind of need to know as they're stepping into their new role? Even if there weren't term limits, any new board chair, I've said this before, but it's
right, yeah.
So there's not a lot of stuff we have to decipher, the new people have to decipher as they kind of come in,
Yeah, like some of the stuff that we're looking at is, rules, responsibilities, expectations of a board chair versus a committee chair versus a rank and file member. So like determining like what those differences are, how to articulate that in like a manner that's easily digestible and shareable for the masses. So.
But just to piggyback on that, you're going to have to be careful because every board has different set of bylaws and different set of expectations. So trying to build something that is, consistent across the board is going to be really difficult, because it's going to force certain boards to make certain changes. Some boards have term limits for chairs, some boards don't, and so on. And so I think you're going to have to be very careful not to step on bylaws when you're doing this.
Just to speak to that, our sort of philosophy as we get into this, and this is part of that initial conversation with CEC, is, okay, these CBs are independent agencies, so we definitely don't want to be, stepping on your toes, tell y'all how to run your meetings, how to run your committees and all that, but we can at least offer a bottom line general guidance, like this is best practices, but of course each community board is different, diverse set of neighborhoods within just one CB, forget the rest of the borough. So, there's no one perfect way to do things, but how can we set up a guideline for a basic foundation on best practices? So more so not just towing that line between this is the best way to go about things, but we're not outrightly telling like it has to be this way. We can only just, as an office, provide you a general guidance, not so much a mandate.
Right, but if we're looking for best practices, maybe it would be a good idea to look at the boards currently instead of coming and telling us what the best practices are.
That's
because there
definitely
are
part
some,
of that conversation.
I would
yes.
imagine there are boards here that do certain things extremely well that are worth replicating, and there are things that we can learn internally from one another, as opposed to having someone come in and sort of reinvent the wheel, when some of us serve very unique communities. So sometimes what works for me necessarily here may not necessarily work in another district, because the district is different, simply put. I want to move on to my questions for the CEC. Very excited about the CEC. I remember standing outside in the freezing cold asking people to actually flip the ballot and vote for the CEC. I remember testifying for this. So if anyone is to blame, you can blame me. So I'm very excited to see you here today. I love the voter language piece, but I think one of the obstacles you all have run into is the fact that there needs to be a better relationship with the Board of Elections, because what I've noticed, having done poll site visibility, is when I was doing it here, for example, one time at Helen Marshall, they don't allow your translators into the poll site unless they're brought in by the voter. So they had your folks sitting outside at a table, on the side of the building. What I also noticed at PS 139, which I was surprised isn't on this list because they need Russian translation there, is that at PS 139, they could be in the building, but they had to be outside of the poll site in the hallway. So when you're coming to vote, people don't look in the hall. They're just trying to find where they have to vote. So they're not even noticing that. And if people inside aren't trained to say, hey, do you speak Russian? Let's take you outside and do this. If there is a major disconnect. So you're having these folks there, you're funding and paying to train these folks and have them there, but they're not actually being utilized properly because there is a disconnect between the CEC and the Board of Elections. And I think that needs to be somehow bridged. And I know that that is something that you guys have been aware of, but it continues to be a challenge because we have the same issue with Russian voters, and we've seen campaigns take advantage of that, where campaigns will willingly send a translator in and just have them vote for them. And so we've seen this happen. I've seen it at the Regal Park Center about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was a prevalent problem. And so that would be something that would be really great to see if we could kind of address that. In regards to participatory budgeting, I love participatory budgeting. It's how I got started I volunteered for my school. Yeah. And so I'm very excited about it, but the problem is, like, my district isn't involved because we have, and I understand the need of the tree neighborhoods. I get that. But that was decided 5 years ago. At some point, this program that was initially launched was supposed to be for the full city. This needs to get to the point where we are doing something for the full city, because some of these places that are actually like Common Point and Queens Community House, they're probably providing services. When I read the programs, these are programs that I'm certain people in my district are getting the benefit of. So very much thank you, because I love these two organizations from the bottom of my heart. But they're also, the thing is, people are getting the benefit of the program, but aren't getting to participate in the process that brings these programs to their community. So I think that would be really helpful if we could start taking a look at this initiative and saying, okay, is it time to broaden the vision of participatory budgeting to get out of these 33 neighborhoods and to get into every neighborhood in the city? The other thing I would challenge you,
Wait,
I
I'm
un-
sorry. Can you?
Sorry.
One of the things I'm working on with my team is how we can do that.
Perfect. Yay.
But
Thank
my team
you.
is of 4 people.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I have a team of 4.
Hey, small and mighty sometimes is lean and mean.
Yeah.
So that's okay by me.
So we're looking on how we can get to the people. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to develop a strategy on how to do that. And so what would be helpful is when we get the email, I'm sorry, your name again?
Michael.
Michael, to get all of this feedback in an email.
Post-meeting, we'll share that info.
And the CEC is trying to bridge out in
Yeah.
ways. Believe me, we are trying to bridge out.
That would be
in a way.
fantastic, because I think you'd have, I know from seeing how the city council PB worked in District 6, I know that the enthusiasm is here. And I know that we would be very excited to see this grow. I also wanted to say thank you. I think the parliamentarian component that you guys run for community boards, that training, is top notch and solid. It really put me in check as a chair as to things that I needed to be thinking about more. And so I want to really thank you for that. I think that's really important, because that is sort of where things can kind of fall apart in a meeting, and it actually gives you good structure. So I wanted to thank you so much for that, and I look forward to these other trainings. I just want to see PB grow, because I know that the initial intention before COVID, before everything sort of changed for our city, it was for the full city, and we've had to do the best we could, and I believe that you are doing the best you can. I just would like to see it kind of come into its own more. So thank you, Barbara.
No, I want to thank you, because what's happened is that if you look at the number of votes, you can see that we've kind of like, yeah, and it's we need people like everyone around this table to help us to get into those areas that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, we need everyone to be involved.
Well, I think part of the reason with the paper ballots is, like, for example, for myself, I was at a street fair in Astoria. Now, I'm CB6, so I'm Rico Park Forest Hills, and I happened to be in Astoria, and they're like, would you like to vote in PB? I'm like, hell yeah, because I love PB. It was Rana's group. What's the name of her group? Malika. They were on the streets, and they were really hustling, getting tons of people to vote, and they were grabbing people off the street. I think part of it is getting the word out, and I know your budget is probably teeny tiny, just like ours, so you're doing the best you can with what you got. But I think that's part of it too, is when people don't have that reminder, when you're grabbing people off the street, like at a street fair, and getting them to do it, that's why you're gonna have more paper too, is because there's just not, like when we used to do citywide PB, we used to send out like tweets to people, not tweets. We used to text people, and people would vote right then on their phones. But that was because, again, you were grabbing their attention where they are. And getting people's attention, I think we all know, is really, really hard. Even people on our mailing list, like, will call us and say, well, we didn't know. Well, you're on our mailing list. We did email you like 3 times about this upcoming thing. You know, so we do the best we can too. So we know we're there with you in the muck and the mire. But I think sometimes that is it too, is just the paper ballots are very successful because you're grabbing people right as they're coming through maybe an event or, you know, at a street fair. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any further questions from the community board chairs? Okay, seeing none, just quickly before we wrap up here, just on behalf of our office, the borough president just did want to just briefly go back to the point, Barbara, that you mentioned, just working with DCAS to roll out New York City Learns across all members of the CB for those much needed trainings and such. I do just want to flag for the chairs that this is something that we're actively in conversation with, not just CEC, but with DCAS as well, to standardize that process. We were actually scheduled to have a meeting later this month, TBD if that'll be pushed to October, but that is something that I do want to just acknowledge several people in this room have reached out to our office on that. So again, this is one of those things that we definitely do want to at least move in the proper direction in terms of standardizing it as we go into 2027, especially have a lot of new folks who will need to be onboarded rather quickly in terms of the standards and expectations in terms of conduct and just engaging with each other. So very much something that we'll be reaching out to you in the next couple weeks and months. So do just want to acknowledge that just for the sake of going forward. So, but if anyone had any particular questions on that end, I'm happy to. I see Betty, then Maria Elena.
More of a comment. One of the things that I think that is the biggest thing, it's not so much the training, it's not so much, the different topics of the training. The issue really is
Access.
that we are a collective body, each board, we're 50 people, all of whom are volunteers, all of whom, by nature of that, have work responsibilities of their own. They've got family, to assume that community board members, all of them, have to participate in the same type of training that every city employee needs to do. There needs to be some understanding on the part of DCAS and everyone else in that process that they're mandating something that is very difficult to do. And it can't be done in a way where it stretches it out, takes a lot of time. For example, just take a thing like this. I'm talking about, the fact that there were more paper ballots than there were digital. It would be probably faster in some respects for an agent. If there's some type of training that has to be done, put it on a set of paper. Send it to people, do what we do with the different codes of conduct where we have members sign for them. They can do whatever training it is, sign it, have to prove that they actually did it in some fashion, and then be done with it without involving a great deal of effort on the part of our board members, because they've got enough to do. I'm off my soapbox. I don't know about the rest of you feel about that little thing we get every week from them following up. In my board, since I really right now have one staff member, and I'm a volunteer, and I'm not in the office every day, all day long, it's harassment in a sense. And they're talking about, harassment issues and, why does somebody have to send us an email every week saying, you didn't fill out the little form in the booklet that we can't access, but only the office can access?
No, yeah, thanks, Betty. I hear you. Yeah. I see Maria Elena next, followed by Reverend Thorbs. But yeah, just to answer to that, Betty. Yeah, like we're aware it's a huge logistical undertaking when, historically you're comparing DCAS trying to do trainings for just district managers and chairs. Now you're looking at the entire body, that's a huge undertaking. So especially when, the board members are not formally city employees, so wouldn't be hooked up to the. Yeah, so yeah, it's something we're trying to navigate, and more to say on that as we get into the year.
Can I just add something?
Just gonna go to Maria Elena
Just
first.
really
followed
quick,
by-
because just piggybacking what you guys were saying. I know you said we're gonna try to get ready for 2027, but you're also gonna ask some feedback from the current chairs and the boards themselves now. Oh, okay. You are gonna plan to do that.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be closer to winter, like end of the year type. Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Thorbs. Good evening. I'm from CB12. I guess I'm the poster child of this craziness of what goes on with the boards when there's no staff I have no staff. I've had what, one from EEOC and another agency wanted another evaluation. If I have no staff, why are you bothering me? I have enough going on in that office. And like Betty, no, I'm not there every day to pay for parking that I can't get reimbursed for. That nobody feels going into that office warrants giving me my money back when I don't get paid to be there in the first place, and it's a volunteer. And yet when I speak to the office of the people with the EEOC and they want this and they want that, and I had someone respond, a volunteer was in the office and responded because she was retired from that very same type of work, they wouldn't accept her answers. The things that we sent in, they wouldn't accept it. And it just so happened we found the paperwork that Ms. Reddick and Pat and Celeste had left behind. And we mailed that in. We emailed that in. And then everything went silent. We haven't heard anything yet. But what's left out of it is nobody tells you that you need an email, a government email. And everybody who's doing this stuff, they're dropping the ball everywhere, all over the place. People are fumbling. And then we're expected to fill these things in and do what needs to be done. It's not fair. It's absolutely not fair. And to receive repeated emails about something that you know that, and that you admit that the system is giving other people issues with. So why are we being evaluated when that whole system needs to be evaluated? Because it makes no sense. Thank you.
Yeah, just to kind of, I think, tie it all together back to the whole working group. It's like, what do board chairs need to know? I wasn't aware that I needed this training until, I mean, I take it anyway for my job, so whatever, sent in my certificate, all that. But like, as we're thinking about term limits and the fact that people will be cycling off, or even anyone who's coming in as a new board chair, and if they're not aware of like what is required, because you are head of agency, right? So ultimately, it's like, we're the ones who have to make sure that we're complying, even if the district manager is responsible for one piece, or the employees are responsible for reading something, whatever it is. This is the kind of stuff that I'm saying, like, in terms of preparedness for term limits, from a board chair perspective, like, this also has to be something that is, you know, memorialized in some way, in some document, a manual, a board chair manual, you know, like, here's what you need to do. You need to approve timesheets at this, like, all that kind of stuff. Some things are kind of a handbook, whatever you want to call it. Some things are going to be the same for every board, right? Some things are different, but some things will be the same. So knowing those things that we have to do, compliance, all that kind of stuff, and have that in some kind of handbook would be amazing, I think, for whoever's going to assume my role. I'm trying to put things together on my own, but it would just be good if I think we could all, standardize that in some way. The things that we have to do, no matter what our bylaws say. It might not even be in the bylaws. That's the whole thing. A lot of these things are not in the bylaws, right?
If I could say.
A lot more out there.
Well, because I also think that sometimes, because, you know, I'm going to be done, we have elections in January, and so I'm term limited. And so when I think about this, and I'm talking to different people that I think might be interested, you know, part of what they don't realize is that all the stuff that's after the meeting or before the meeting, you know, they only see the meeting, most people. You're talking about 50 people. And so what they don't understand is that we're here tonight. They don't understand that, like, there's calls when there's an emergency, when there's flooding, or when there's a big storm, you know, and they don't understand that we have the timesheets and so on and so forth. So there are things that I think when you come into this role, your eyes aren't necessarily wide open because there's not that level of transparency, and not for lack of trying. It's just, you know, there needs to be some form of training, I believe, that needs to be consistent across the board so that people know what the expectations are. So that, and then you can work that out with your district manager as to how to best walk that through for your specific district. Because I will tell you, you can, you know, depending on the relationship with the district manager, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. You know, sometimes you're in the dark, you know, depending. And so to fulfill your role, I think you need that kind of information so that you're not finding out, like this training. I mean, I had no idea I had to do this training, none, and I've been in this role for 4 years. And so to find out that we were supposed to do this is sort of like, well, who was going to tell me? You know, you don't find out for an audit. So I just think that going forward, that should be something we should consider.
Yeah, Barbara, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that before we go to Sherry.
I just want to congratulate all of you for the work that you've done, because when you as somebody who's served on boards and who's turned out of boards, just recently I've turned out of a board position, and people who go into those seats, they don't understand what they're going into. They don't know what they're walking into. And it's because of the hard work that you put into the position that the person who came before you probably didn't do. It shows the amount of work and dedication that you put in and how you build into that role. And you do it so well that people, they don't understand. You know, it just looks so natural. You know what I'm saying? Right? So just every now and then, just sit back and remind yourself how great you are. You know, because when someone else has to take that seat, it's going to hit them. It's going to hit them.
That's okay.
Probably the biggest thing that we all need to understand as term limits begin, and I'm saying this because I'm the longest running chair sitting here. And my board members are ready to throw rocks at my head because I am trying at every single meeting to give them background on things that they need to know. And a lot of what you're talking about are things that chairs need to know. But what we really ought to be focusing on as we move into term limits is that, and it goes to a little bit of what there are many, many people out there who want to be on the community boards, who want to participate and be part of the whole process that we do. But we are not the training wheels. You know, people need to come to the boards, not just with the desire, but the skills and abilities to do it. You know, my biggest fear as we come into term limits is that all of the different types of things that we deal with, the construction projects, the developers, just developers for one, they're going to run rampant over some of our board members. And when you collectively put it together, it's all well and good to have people eager to do things, but they have to know how to do them. They've got to understand construction projects and how they go from start to finish. And one of the things that we all deal with, you know, in all of our districts, when a construction project for a sewer project or a street reconstruction can take 25, 30 years from start to finish, somebody on your boards are going to have to know the backgrounds because they're interrelated and there are things, you know, just a classic example in my board district. I can't talk about the Resorts World stuff on my board, which we've been talking about for close to 20 years now. But one of the things that we figured out, and that my aqueduct and committee chair is working, going back through our records and finding out different things that set the stage for something that came after. And it's a classic in our board with that one issue, and then multiply that by all of the different issues we deal with as boards. You know, we've got to focus on how do we keep boards functioning efficiently, and every board's different. And it's not so much what our bylaws say and the committee structures and all of that. It's a collective body aiming to do certain things. and we're not going to do them well if we're being pulled in every different direction. And again, I'll get off my soapbox.
All right.
Um,
Yeah, I see Brian. Oh wait, Sherry. Yeah, Sherry then.
A lot of the board members in my board is term limited. And I don't think we're getting the replacement as fast as we're going to get for, still more than half of them is term limited, including myself. Everyone's asking questions. How are we going to do this? How is the term limit going to happen? And there's a little fear, as we have board members who are 50, 51 years on the board. They know a lot of the stuff. We also have a jail coming in our community board that we're very well aware and we're very active. And someone who came here as an immigrant at age 25, when I became the chair, I didn't know what the hell I was getting into. It was a lot. I called Betty a lot. Thank you, Betty. My first few months, and a couple of times I got screamed at because I probably didn't understand stuff, which, I appreciate. It's a learning experience. But I learned it over the years. This is my 4th year, and I learned it and I grow into it. And you also have to know the job of the district manager as well, too. If there's a family emergency and like your district manager got to take care of their family and they're gone for like 3 weeks and people are calling and there are meetings, I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't told that you also have to learn about the district manager's job, because there are times you're going to have to fill in for the district manager, especially they're entitled to vacation. They have a lot of time accumulated to take off, and they suddenly decide we're going to go for 2 weeks, and there's an emergency in the district, and they call in the community board. What I found out that I didn't just have to learn my role as a chair, I also had to learn the job of the district manager, because there's stuff that's happening. So with somebody just coming into this role, it's not easy, and there was no manual. There was none. If the former chair isn't working with you, you're stuck. You just don't know, you don't know start from finish. But like I said, I learned it and I moved along, but it took time, right? This is my 4th year, and I'm still learning and I'm still growing, but then next year we're term limited after next year. So it's not like you get to become a chair today and and most of the members don't know what we did, because I don't think we really took a break this summer. I don't know for the chairs, but there was always something coming up in our community. There was no such thing as a break, and you had to go if there's someone die or something happened. You have to go to vigil. You have to go. It's a lot of component as a volunteer, and I think for those of you who has been doing this for 20, 30 years, I commend you, because it's a lot. And I'm starting to realize the service of a chair is a lot. And that's why I'm so grateful for everyone that I'm sitting here with today who took on this role, because I realize it's not easy. But there got to be some type of manual where somebody who's aspiring to be a chair, they shouldn't aspire just because they want the votes and they want the title to say, I'm a chair. I think it's a whole lot.
I hear you.
And they
Sherry. So,
represent the board as well.
Again, part of our conversations with CEC and DCAS to find a way to elevate that bottom line of information we're getting to incoming leadership, incoming members. So I hear you. So before we wrap up here, just going to go to Brian. And
Thank you, Michael. I'll just be real quick. I think what I've experienced at my board is that a lot of the individuals who seek to be chair, they don't realize, and we have to keep stressing that. Michael's been there at our meeting, Alfonso's been there, Khalil's been there. We're not a social organization. We're not a sorority or fraternity. We're a city agency. And this is my fear with leadership changing. I don't think I'm the best thing in sliced bread, but when I step down, there are folks on my board that I'm scared that if they ever became chair of my board. Because I'll be frank, I won't call the names out, but I'm just telling you, if they become chair of my board, they're going to think it's a social organization. And we're a city agency. Thank God I have Mark McMillan as my district manager, because we could stress these things to them. They don't want to hear it, and that's why there's always animosity towards me and Mark, because we don't let them go zigzag. We don't let them go in another direction. And they get angry with us, but we know we're doing the right thing. We're a city agency. We have to adhere to certain laws and regulations. And we just, if you want to have a social organization, which I've told some of them, that's why they got mad with me, go form your own thing. But not at the community board. We're a city agency. And that's what all of us, some of us have experienced. I can't say all, I know that's what I've experienced. I know at one time when my district manager, Larry, left and got sick and everything, I was employed at a law firm in Manhattan. So I had to work in Manhattan, leave there, come back, go through the mail, do the postings for BSA items and everything. It was just too much. And I was a volunteer, as many of you said. I was not getting paid. So until we got Mark as our district manager, that's what I was doing. And now we have to do it. Mark explained to me, Brian, you got to do this training now. Now, I agree with everyone here. I'm not a city employee. So why do I have to sit down for I think it's going to be like 4 hours or 6 hours that we have to sit in this DCAS training? I mean, Mark has to do it. Your district managers, Felicia probably has to do it. Other boards have to do it. But we are volunteers and not city employees. So Betty, I agree with what you're saying. You can go on the soapbox all evening. I don't care. Because why do we have to sit through this? And Michael, you could speak for us. We have to do this training. And I don't know why they thought about that. Why do we as chairs have to do, we're not city employees. We're a city agency. Now, if they want us to do the training, make us city employees and give us a stipend, all right? So you can pay for your parking. But, that's what the things I'm facing at my board. Who's going to step in and to let them know we're not a social fraternity, sorority. We're a city agency. We're governed by city rules and regulations. And this is, I fear, for my board, and I think many of your other boards, who's going to step in? And will they stay in the guidelines? I mean, when you do try to shut them down during the meetings, then you're the bad person. And they come after you in all different ways. But, we've learned to kind of deflect that. But this is what I don't know, Dolores, Reverend Thorpe, all of us are going to be facing this, Michael. The worst thing as far as me personally, I'll just say personally, the worst thing they did was create this term limits for boards. Yeah. That's just, I don't know how anyone else feels. The worst thing they could have done. To bring in fresh minds. And if you really want to know how to be a chair, you should attend the meetings. It's very simple. I don't think we need I don't think you need a manual. I'll agree with you, Dolores. If you attend a proper run community board meeting, you know what a chair does. Just as you stated, like tonight now, if I wasn't here, there's a fire in Belrose. 2 deaths. Now, as soon as we leave here, I'm going to run over there, just show my face, see what I can do. But then also, we have a land use meeting tonight. So here we go again. I'm back and forth. I'm not a city worker. I'm not being compensated. We're volunteers. But I come here for the Borough Board meeting. Got to leave here now, run up to Belrose, but there's fire. And then also log on when I'm on my car driving to our land use committee meeting. Now, this is something I think that we enjoy doing this. Yeah. We do it because we care about our communities. But now I think it's a little too much now telling us we have to sit down for training. Now I really think, I really think that's a bit much for us as board chairs we have to go through. That's all I have to say. But Betty, you could stay in the soapbox all night. What you just said. No, it's the truth. You have to, who's going to step up? And if they, luckily I had Sundarica who was there for 40 years. Rich Hellenbrecht came on. And then I came on, and Rich and I had a good relationship, so he was able to point certain things out to me. And my district manager, him and I would communicate. So at least we have a flow going. Some boards, maybe you don't have that relationship. And then that's a problem when you're not working hand in hand with your district manager. Because then that's a problem. Or if you don't have a district manager, that's another problem. Because I've experienced that, as I said, as a Dolores. I remember you didn't have a district manager at your time. Reverend Thorpe, you still don't have a district manager. And I remember when I didn't have a district manager, and I was working at that time in Manhattan. Okay, so I wasn't even, I was not working. I had to be at the firm, 9:30 in the morning. Sometimes I had to stay until 5, 6 o'clock, leave there and then make sure stuff's being done properly at the community board office and set up the agenda. And as a volunteer, and I don't think we get enough credit, I really don't, that what we do on a volunteer basis, that's just me. All of us sitting here, I think all of us can attest this, that how I think we're, sometimes unappreciated for what we do. Because you have to put the agenda together, and you have to make sure the agenda stays on point. And the other most important thing we're going to have, Michael, as term limits kick in, is your parliamentarian. Your parliamentarian is going to be key at your boards when you do have. Luckily, I have a well, damn good, excuse my language, parliamentarian, and it's a lawyer. So, and that helps. But when you have a change, make sure you're parliamentarian. That's going to be the key, because that person, he or she, will keep things in order.
Yeah, I hear you, Brian. And
So,
yeah,
thank you, Michael.
Again, like to put a bow on that, as we get closer to term limits kicking in our office being more intentional with trainings for like specific stuff such as that, parliamentary procedure, how to navigate budget and your capital needs, priorities, land use, SLA, like those are all things that we're actively working on with the city agencies, but CEC as well. So just to put a bow on that, just want to thank Barbara for attending tonight and presenting to the Borough Board. It's greatly appreciated. And just want to thank all the chairs for being in attendance as well. So as always, post-meeting, I'll be sharing this information. But just before we wrap up here, again, just thank you to Civic Engagement Commission for being here. Yeah, and just before we wrap up, do want to acknowledge that we have Michael Marshall from Department of Finance here. Yeah. And Michael, I don't know if you wanted to briefly.
Sure.
Yep.
So, hi. Good evening, folks. Good evening. All right. My name is Mikhailo. I'm here with the Department of Finance. In the coming months, we'll be reopening our homeowner exemption applications. And so we are open to partnering with each of your offices. Queens has many homeowners, right? It's predominantly the population here, and many of your constituents could be benefiting from reducing their property taxes. And so we will be partnering with the local electeds offices, and also we'll discuss with, open to discussing with any of you on pipelines on how to communicate and interact with our office, as well as supporting your constituents getting the benefits that we have to offer. Okay? So thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, DOF. And finally, just do want to acknowledge that we also have DEP in the room with us. Alfonso, if you have anything, or
I think we're in the middle of. Thanks, sir. Good afternoon. We were able to do that really good round of Flood 101s for everybody. We're in the middle of it. It's August is like the higher season when we see a lot of that activity here, as you've seen with some of the storms. We keep an eye on that through the coming month. Anything that comes up, anything that we can be helpful with, just reach out to us. But I do want to come back around with another sort of like roadshow with some other information for all the community boards. I think just before December, maybe like around November. So we're working on what that's going to look like, but I'll be reaching out to all of you. But if it can ever be helpful for me to come through, I'm happy to crash your meetings.
all right. Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you. All right. With that, just want to thank everyone for attending tonight's Borough Board meeting. Looking forward to working with all of you as we go into the swing of things in this new CB season. Our next Borough Board meeting will be Wednesday, October 22nd at 5:30 p.m. So again, that's on a Wednesday, not Monday as usual. So looking forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.